Housing will be the single biggest expense you pay on a monthly basis by far. So where you choose to live and how you choose to pay for it matters. And right now, there's this huge ongoing debate about whether you should rent or should you buy. My answer to that is, it depends on your situation. But for those of you who are caught up in house buying fever right now, I want to share with you 3 dumb reasons to rush into buying a home so that you avoid making one of the biggest financial mistakes you can ever make in life. Number 1, I'm just throwing away money on rent. Really? Let's stop and think about that. What are you getting in return for your rent payment? You're getting a roof over your head in the cold of winter and the heat of summer. You're getting a warm bed to sleep in, and you're avoiding that pesky little thing of having to sleep on the streets or in your car. I don't know. Sounds like a fair exchange to me. What do you think? Number 2, my mortgage can't go up. Yeah, if you don't have a variable rate mortgage, your mortgage can't go up. However, even with a fixed rate mortgage, 3 things can and will go up. Number 1, homeowner's insurance. Number 2, property taxes. And number 3, cost of maintaining and repairing the home. These will always go up. So if you can barely afford to cover the mortgage payment right now, this is not the time for you to rush into buying a home. Number 3, everyone else is doing it. Ah, yes, the peer pressure one. Simply, I will say this. Like Mom said, if everyone else jumps off a bridge, will you jump off too? There is so much house buying regret out there right now from people who rushed and jumped off the financial house buying bridge and on the way down are feeling the pain of it. Don't let that be you. Don't rush into a dumb decision just because everyone else is doing it. You don't want to end up being house rich but cash poor. Those are just a few dumb reasons for rushing into buying a home. But we all gotta live somewhere, you say, right? And this is true. How do you make an educated decision about whether to rent or whether to buy? I'm gonna share with you how to make that decision the right way in the next video. Like I said, everybody needs a place to live. The question is, where are you going to live? And then how are you going to pay for that? Are you going to rent or are you going to pay a mortgage, meaning buy? Now, assuming you don't have the cash to buy outright, we're going to be working with some numbers and some percentages here to figure out the answer to the first very important question. How much can you afford to put toward housing? Now, if you're renting, it's a very simple calculation. You don't want your rent to exceed 33% of your take-home pay. So that's it. So if you're taking home $10,000 a month, then you don't want your rent to exceed $3,333 a month. Very simple. Now, if you're looking to buy, you're going to also use that same percentage, 33%. It can't exceed that. However, there's a ball of wax that goes into that. There's your mortgage. There's your PMI. There's your homeowner's insurance. There's your taxes. All of that rolled in can't exceed 33%. Okay? Got it. Now, initially, we're going to start doing our calculations as to what 33% is and how much of that you can put towards it. So you're going to live your life on my 70-10-10-10 plan. If you do it this way, you will not be house or apartment poor. You will have enough margin to breathe and live. That means you can save, you can invest, you can pay down any debt that you may have, consumer debt. that also means that you can live your life. You can take vacations. You can buy things. You're not in a stranglehold, a chokehold because of the mortgage or your rent payment. Now, got that? So now as long as you've got that going on, you can say, well, this is the percentage that I can put towards living month to month on either my rent or my mortgage payment. Now, if you're buying, there's the upfront cost of getting in. There is your down payment. Then you're going to have to account for closing costs, which can be up to 5% of the total mortgage on the home that you're taking out. And then there's something that I want you to have. There's not a law that says you have to have it, but I'm telling you it's going to save your life. You need to have a 3% contingency fund. What is that, you ask? That is when the roof leaks, when the plumbing goes, when the HVAC breaks, when anything goes wrong in that house, it is now on you to pay for it. You can't pick up the phone and call the bank. You can't pick up the phone and call a landlord. Every expense is now on your shoulders. So this is a very important thing for you to consider when you think about, do I want to rent or do I want to buy a home? Can you afford, or do you want to afford to have all of those extra costs on you? So now once you've decided how much you can afford to put toward your housing expenses and how much you need to have up front to put toward your housing expenses, now we're ready for the next step. Here we are at the next step, and that is deciding, all right, I've got this pile of cash. The next question is, should I rent or should I buy? Your initial feeling might be, well, I want to buy, I want to get into the ownership, I want to build equity, blah, 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 blah. I want to have something that's my own. Yes, nice. Everyone would like to have something that's their own. The question is it practical for you? First thing is, know that when you buy a home, it doesn't make financial sense unless you plan to stay there 3 to 5 years minimum. That will allow time for the home to appreciate and for you to recoup the money that you laid out to get into the home. Now that's just a rough estimate. You might need longer. So if you're the kind of person who feels like, well, I don't want to be tied to one place, I want to maybe take another job opening when the opportunity comes along or when the spirit moves me or the feeling hits me, buying a home is probably not the right choice for you. Because if you're renting, maybe you can break a lease. Some landlords will let you out because they feel that the next person that comes in, they can charge more. At the very most, you're committed to live to the end of that lease. When you have a home, you have to put it up for sale. You have to get a buyer. You got to go through the whole buying process. We're talking about months here. We're not talking about something that you can just jump up and decide you want to do. As I mentioned to you previously, you also have to say to yourself, do I want the ease and convenience of a rental where landscaping, maintenance, all of that stuff is on the property owner? It's not on me. If something breaks, I just pick up the phone and say, hey, my dishwasher needs fixing. Come fix it. And then they got to come pay to fix it. But when you're a homeowner, remember that cost is on you. You have to come out of pocket for all of that. You're digging into your contingency fund, which is not your emergency fund. That's a separate thing. Got it? All right. So if you feel that owning that home is locking you into too much responsibility, because I'm telling you from experience, Owning a home, the work never finishes. There's always something that needs to be painted. There's always something that needs to be fixed. There's always something that needs to be maintained. The yard, cleaning up a bigger space. All of this stuff is on you. So think very carefully, very long and hard, whether your lifestyle fits. I want to own a home versus your lifestyle fitting. I want the freedom and the ease of a rental. So once you answer that question, now we're going to move on to the next. So right here, right now, if you've decided to rent, we're going to leave that where it is. You don't need to know this information. However, you might want to listen, because if you decide in the future you want to become a homeowner at some point, these are some good things to know. The next question you need to ask yourself is, what type of mortgage should I get? There's a bunch of different mortgages out there, and I took some notes because there's a lot of stuff to remember. So, conventional loan. You're just going to a bank, Chase, Wells Fargo, Capital One, what have you, Bank of America, or your credit union, whatever, and you're saying, I would like to apply for a mortgage. Conventional means they're giving it directly to you under conventional terms. That means you're going to need at least a 620 credit score, and you're going to need to put down anywhere from 3% if you're a first-time home buyer, all the way up to 20% if you want to avoid PMI. Anything under 20% down requires PMI. All right. Next, FHA. FHA will approve you for a loan with a credit score as low as 580 and a down payment as low as 3.5%. Remember, there's one change though. Used to be that you could pay down your mortgage amount so that you had equity that went above 20%, and then you could drop your PMI. PMI is now locked for life on any FHA loan. So remember, you can't refi and get out of PMI on an FHA loan. VA loans, self-explanatory. Those are for veterans and their surviving spouses. For a VA loan, you need a credit score that falls anywhere between 550 and 640 because the VA works through banks and different banks have different requirements. But there's no down payment and no PMI. So that's great for veterans. USDA loans. These are for areas of the country that the U.S. Department of Agriculture deems rural or suburban, but they want to increase the home ownership presence in that area. Under those circumstances, you need a credit score anywhere from 580 to 620, and your income cannot exceed 115% of the median income level in that area. So you can't come in balling on multiple six figures and figure, well, I'm going to get a USDA loan and move into this low-cost area. That's not going to work. These are loans geared for specific income levels to increase home ownership in certain areas that they want to increase home ownership in. Finally, we come to the jumbo loan. This can be anywhere from $830,000 all the way up to, say, 1.2, 1.3 million. Those are the thresholds, but it depends on where you live. Like a jumbo loan is not rated the same in Kansas as it would be in Hawaii, as it would be in New York, as it would be in Alaska. There's different levels for that you need to know. Also know that to get a jumbo loan, you're going to need to come with a larger down payment, and you're going to have to come with a higher credit score. They're not just handing these out to 580 and 620 credit scores. Okay, so let me wrap this up by saying I am not a mortgage specialist. You need to do your homework, do your research on the different mortgages that are available to you and what the requirements are and what the flexibility is about them later on down the line. Should you want to refinance? Should you want to pay it off? Should you want to get out and sell? That's it. for your mortgages. So now you've decided which type of mortgage you want. Let's move on to the next point. Now you've decided I can buy a home. I know how much I can afford. I know what type of mortgage I want. And now I'm pre-approved. So you're ready to go shopping for your home. What are the questions you need to ask? Let me tell you from experience as a former home buyer and owner, these are things that you need to clarify. Number one, get your inspection done and check your inspector's credentials. Look them up on Trustpilot, look them up, find out what the reviews are about them. Do these guys or gals know what they're doing? My inspector inspected my home, gave it a clean bill of health. Later on, we found out the roof was shot. It was soft and sagging and leaking when it rained hard. The plumbing leaked in the basement. So these were things that needed to be fixed. Also, the oil tank was a ticking time bomb. That was getting ready to start leaking. I think these are things that the homeowner who sold it to us knew, but they didn't disclose it. And there's this little thing that you can sign saying that you release them from liability because you want to have a fast closing. We did that. That released them. They're not liable. So do your homework, get a good inspection, and then on top of that, check these things. Run the water in all of the bathrooms, in the kitchen. Anywhere there's a faucet, run the water, run the shower, run it, and then go downstairs and check for leaks. Don't be like me who came into the house, ran the shower the first day. My wife comes running upstairs. It's raining in the basement. Yeah, they sold us that house. You want to do your due diligence. You also want to open up the faucets and run the water to see, well, what's the pressure like? Flush the toilet while the water's running. You want to turn on the hot water, make sure that it's putting out enough heat in a couple of faucets, right? Other things that you may want to think of is, what is the neighborhood like at night? Do a drive-by at night. Find out what's going on there late at night, early in the morning. Get up out of your bed and do this stuff. You'll thank me later. You're welcome. Next thing you want to do so that you don't get caught off guard like so many of these buyer's remorse people on TikTok are crying about right now is your taxes. Find out when was the last tax assessment. Find out what is the comps on what people are paying on taxes in your area. Another good rule, don't buy the most expensive house on the block. You're going to be rated higher, and then should property levels drop, you're going to be below value on your home. You don't want that to happen. But back to the taxes. When was the last tax assessment? Has it been years ago? Is the town, village, city getting ready to do a new assessment that will bump your taxes up higher? Oh, another thing is, does the home sit in a flood zone? Will you be able to even get flood insurance, or will they charge you exorbitant amounts just to have flood insurance? You don't want to be at the mercy of insurance companies because you forgot to do your due diligence and ask these basic questions. Now, the last thing I would like you to make sure you check is, like I said, plumbing, electrical, make sure that all the wiring is up to code. Make sure that the breaker box has enough amperage in it to handle a modern family. Like, you're going to have a lot of devices and things plugged in. Can this home handle it? You want to make sure about that. I talked to you about HVAC. I talked to you about the roof. Oh, finally, the foundation. Check the foundation. Make sure it's not shifting. Make sure there's no telltale cracks in the foundation that tells you that there's a problem here. Also, a good rule of thumb, get a marble or get a round rubber ball and set it on the floor in the rooms of the house and see if that sucker stays still or does it start rolling to one corner of the house, of the room. This tells you whether or not you have a foundation problem. So these are all things you want to keep in mind when you're deciding whether to buy or whether to rent. You got to think carefully about this. Even when you're renting, you want to make sure that you're not biting off more than you can chew as far as your monthly carrying costs, because then that's going to strangle you and it's going to make you apartment poor. Never mind being house poor. So if you follow my advice on these things, you will be able to rent and you will be able to buy with confidence, and you will be able to still live and enjoy a rich life and love the place that you live in. Now, if you have questions about these and other things, these are the types of things we talk about in Money Hero Academy on a weekly basis. Why not join us? Get better at money so that you can get better at life. You can find the link to Money Hero Academy on my website at intentionalmoneysolutions.com, and you can get your questions answered, and you can join up for as little as $97 a month. And you will be attached to a community where people are moving in the same direction, they're working on their money, they're conscious about it, they're looking to develop richer lives. You're not in a crab in a barrel situation with people who don't want to do better. Everyone at Money Hero Academy wants to do better, and they're intentional about it. So why not join us for the journey? That's it for this week's video. I hope you enjoyed what you learned and you found value in it. If so, put it into practice. Next, if you know somebody who could use it, forward it to them. Share it with them so that they can benefit from this too. Buying a home or considering a rental are both serious decisions, and you don't want to be half-butt about it. All right. Have a great day, a fantastic week, and remember, be your own money hero, because no one's coming to save you.